Hello and welcome back to another unboxing video. Today we're going to be opening up a Commodore Amiga A500. This was sold to me as untested. They said it powers up, but they haven't connected it to a TV. They said they can hear the drive making sounds like it should work. So stay tuned and we'll see what we've got. Okay. TV adapter. Well, that doesn't belong to this. Okay, looks like they've wrapped it in a towel. Power supply. Well, that's one way of wrapping something. Wow, that is very yellowed. Very dusty. And looks a bit rusty on the back there too. It's been opened. Seals are all broken. Get something to open that up with. No memory expansion, which is unusual. For everybody added that at least. That is seriously yellowed. It's like they've been left out in the sun. Power supply. Right then, let's get this set up and see if it works. One thing I just wanted to mention was over the last year or so I bought quite a number of items second hand off of eBay, etc. And back in the day you had to fit your own plug. Nowadays obviously you get a mouldy plug with a correct fuse in, but years ago you had to buy your own plug, and they just took it that you knew which fuse to put in. Obviously an appliance like this would only need a 3 amp fuse, so I've started checking them all now because I had an appliance recently, an old computer that had a 13 amp fuse in it, but it only needed a 3 amp. This has actually got a 3 amp in it. Make sure those screws are nice and tight, because if the fuse doesn't blow, potentially the transformer can overheat and blow instead, or in worst case scenario even catch fire, which is not what you want. So it's always best to check the plug just to make sure it's got the right fuse rating in it. Okay, fingers crossed. Let's see if it works. Nothing. Not coming on, is it? Oh dear. I'm not even getting a power light. Well, I just wiggled the power connection back in and out. Let's try that again. Not working. I'll try my power supply now, my other one that I know is okay, and see if that has any effect. Okay, I've just swapped power supplies over. Let's try this other one now. Ah, well that's working. Must be a faulty power supply then, something's obviously gone awry with that. So let's pop a disc in. Nothing. No, I can hear the disk drive doing that sound that it does when it's just sat there doing nothing. But it's not even attempting to spin the disk. So it looks like this is going to be a fixer-upper. Well, I guess that's about it for now. I'll get it open now, we'll have a look inside. Never like the screws on these, they don't have much thread on them. Okay. All kinds of bits of debris are falling out of it. Just noticed that the floppy drive housing is a bit bent. Not quite, if you see that, coming up on one side. Oh, it's just the cover anyway. Panasonic floppy drive on that one. RF shielding's not in too bad a condition. Just notice a sticker there, R6. I'm assuming that's the board revision number. Yeah, floppy. Don't know why that's like that. Just noticed the ribbon cable there looks like it's slightly out. So there we go, that'll probably be why it wasn't working. So we'll try that again now. Okay, I've plugged it all back in. Let's see if it will read that disc now, if it will spin up. Well, for a second there I thought we had another problem. Just wiggled the cable, plugged it back in again for the connection to the TV. It seems to be okay now. So let's try a disc. And it's still not working. Right, the next thing to do is to open it back up, pop the RF shield off and see if it's connected. It definitely looks like somebody's been in here before messing around with it, so they obviously had a problem with it themselves. That's plugged in that side. I suppose while we're here we might as well have a look under the shield. Oh, there's the inside. Looks very clean in there. Well, looks like it's plugged in all the way. Sometimes just unplugging things and plugging them back in again can have the desired effect. If it still doesn't work, I know the drive's still getting power because it makes that little juddering effect that the Amigas do when they're just sat there idling. The next option will be to swap the two CIA chips around. Seeing as these are both identical and they both do the same job, you can swap them around to see if you've got a faulty one. And the one closest to the floppy drive helps control the floppy drive, so that'll be something to try next. Right, I swapped over the two CIA chips, but it made no difference, it still wouldn't boot. So I thought I'll try my floppy drive out of my other Amiga, the one that I know works, and sure enough it booted. So we know basically it's the floppy drive that's at fault. So next thing to do then is to take the floppy disk apart, give it a clean out. I've also noticed that the lid is loose. I think someone's tried to get inside this before. Okay, it's all sealed underneath. It's different compared to my other one. This is the working one out from my other Amiga. This is a chin-on drive. This one is Panasonic. That's going to take some getting into. In fact, I don't think I'll even really get into that. You can see the motor there. Is it going to turn? Yeah, it's turning. It's free, it's not jammed. The eject button slightly bent. And the top's pressed in. There's some force on it. Well, if I don't get this going, it's going to be a replacement drive or a Gadget maybe. I've never had one of those yet, so maybe it's about time I invested in one. Well, I'll plug it back in and try it again. Well, I put it all back together. It's still not working. As you can see, it's doing that thing that the Amigas do when they idle. The heads move slightly back and forth. Okay, so onto the power supply now. I thought I'd take a quick look at that to see what type of power supply it is. And it's one of the older ones with the big heavy transformer inside. Doing a Google search, I came across Gadget UK on YouTube. Very interesting channel actually, a very informative guy, really knows his stuff. Watching one of his videos on this particular model kind of gave me the confidence to open this up and have a look inside of it. I'm not getting any 12 volts out of this, so I shall have a look at this now and see what's going on with it, see if there's any dry joints or whatever. Okay, I had a good look around the PCB, couldn't see anything physically wrong with it, all the joints looked okay. Looked at the capacitors, they were getting 40 volts nearly each, on the bigger two that on the side there. And then I thought I'll just check the continuity of the lead itself, and sure enough it was damaged. Two of the connections weren't making contact. The plug apart, eventually got into it, and I've resoldered the cables where they should be, and now I'm getting all the correct readings. Minus 12 volts, plus 12 volts, plus 5 volts. So now it's all back together. I'm going to try something new. This is just probably going to be a temporary measure until I get a new plug for it. I noticed that when I took it apart, it had like a melted plastic around it. So I thought I'd try a hot glue gun. At the end of the day, I'm going to be getting a new plug for it anyway eventually, so this is just a temporary fix. I'm not suggesting this will be a permanent fix, but time will tell. So let's fill it up. See, this cools down pretty quickly, so it's going to have to be pretty fast. Right, so it was a little bit messy initially, but it's gone in there. So I had to expand the casing to get the plug out originally. Well, I'll just test the readout, test the pins on that just to make sure it's still connected before I plug it in. Okay, let's check the connections. plus 12, minus 12, plus 5. That seems to all be okay. I'll plug it into the computer now and see if it works okay. Right then, let's switch it on. Yeah, power lights come on. An update as well on the disk drive. I noticed that I was looking over it, the two little switches for the erase tab, one of them is broken off, one of the plunger switches is missing, and it's come away from the board slightly. So that'll probably be why the disk isn't spinning up. So I'll probably have a look at that next, if I can get into it. It's a Panasonic drive. It means I'm removing the mechanical side of the eject mechanism to get to the PCB underneath. Well, after a little bit of messing about, I managed to get into the drive and get to the PCB at the front there. The switch that was broken off, I soldered a couple of wires on its place. My thoughts were I could just put a switch on the outside maybe, because I'm thinking of using this Amiga for another project anyway, for a case build. So I was going to have a flipper switch for it. But anyway, it now spins up, but sadly it's still not accessing the disk. I noticed that these two screws here were loose, so someone's been messing around with it basically, and it's all out of alignment. So it's going to need an alignment disc to sort that problem out. I don't have one of those at the moment. I'll have to try and find one online somewhere. Well, there we have it then. Wasn't quite what I expected. When I bought it, there was no mention of how yellow the case was and how dirty it was, and the rust on the back. You know, all the security seals were broken. I mean, they invariably are all broken anyway. Most people have had one of these, have been into it for one reason or another. It doesn't really matter because I was looking for a donor anyway. I already had two other Amiga 500s, a 500 Plus, another one of these, and I was looking for one to do a serious case mod on. So this has turned out quite perfect in the end, really. Obviously the drive's not working. I'll probably either use a Gotek drive or an external floppy drive, make a separate case for that as well. I sorted the power supply out in the end. Obviously that's just a temporary fix, but it'll do for now. So all's well that ends well, really. So I guess that just about wraps up today's video. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, take care, and I'll be seeing you.